Hello, my name is Summer Waters, and for my presentation, I am going to go over the article, Can Modeling the Drift of Bycatch Dolphin Stranded Carcasses Help Identify Involved Fisheries? An Exploratory Study. Okay, now for the background of the research before we get into the details. As we all know, cetaceans and other wildlife in the ocean have been found to get mingled in with the fisheries out there in the ocean by accident or on purpose sometimes. And they have a high probability to be caught because, all the fish are gathering in that area and they love to munch on them. This is called bycatch, which is directly defined as the proportion of a commercial fishing catch that is composed of animals that were caught unintentionally and are released. However, of course, this isn't exactly a good thing as it can cause many injuries and deaths because of the netting and the fishing gear that they use. And overall, because the ocean is so vast and fisheries are so diligent getting that fish that we are unsure of the exact magnitude of how much damage is being done out there in the ocean. But with this research, they're finding stranded dead dolphins over by the coast, and they still have signs of netting and fishing gear on them and injuries that they think could be related to this. So they can use these carcasses to show a sample of these undocumented bycatch cases. And then overall, they ended up using reverse drift modeling, where they combine various factors of the ocean, like density of the water, density of the animal that they're focusing on, the wind, where the waves are going, how strong the water is, the weather, all that to mathematically and simulate and guess, basically, an educated guess where the body exactly came from and how it got to the shore. Yeah. And then the overall article's experimental questions are, can reverse drift models accurately trace back where dolphin bycatch occurred? And is a significant amount of stranded carcasses due to bycatch? And now for the overview of the results. Here you can see a table of how they were able to determine exactly how old the carcasses were, which I found to be interesting, to be able to estimate the age of the bodies. And using this information with the modeling and the bodies, they were able to determine two main areas where bycatch occurred based on mostly the modeling. And then there was a positive correlation between the bycatch casualty origin and the fishing effort distribution, which was spatial and temporal, the area where it was and the time of year that it occurred. And then from February to March of 2017, there was about a total of 4,430 small cetaceans that had been estimated to have been bycaught. That's just the stuff they found. And then 3,690 of those were exactly common dolphins. Here we have two main figures that are central to the article and the research. On the left, we have the modeling and the estimations of where most of the bycatch was being done based on the stranding events that were in February and then March. The darker green areas were the one with the most prevalent and amount of incidences, and then the little gray dots were where the strandings occurred. Then on the right, we have a line graph depicting the exact dates and numbers of stranded common dolphins that they found, and then the lines at the top, 1 and 2, are the stranding events that occurred, first being in February and the second being in March. As for the conclusions of the research, overall they were able to determine that reverse drifting modeling was effective in trying to track bycatch overall, and that the fisheries involved, they used specifically high vertical opening gear, and they were during the time of year where they were trying to harvest predatory fish like sea bass and hake, which is in the area. And then the stranded species related to fisheries should be included in future analyses when it comes to the stranding events and overall bycatch as an issue in the EU. And then they did have to clarify that their methods were not always going to be applicable to every single individual bycatch case, as the overall mechanisms can vary greatly case by case, and they had to work with something very specific here. And then finally, my critiques and follow-ups. I was curious about, like, I don't know about you guys, but I kind of do need percentages of the exact bodies that they found versus what they thought actually related to the bycatches. Like, what percentage of the strandings were actually bycatch related? Like, is this like 95% of strandings, or is this 5% of strandings? I kind of like that type of info, put it in my articles. And then why was the recorded data that they had in this article, why didn't it go beyond slight decomposition? Like, some of the bodies can be really hard to tell how it died, but sometimes they can still have the netting on them if they're super decomposed and stuff, like really got in there. So you might be able to have some cases that are over 30 days old, but they still have the netting on them. Why didn't they mention that type of stuff? And then I would like a little side note in the conclusion. What exactly about high vertical opening gear is more likely to catch these dolphins and then kill them so much? Like, what part of that is so fatal? Is there something about the exact tools that we need to address and stuff like that? And then my follow-ups would basically be just repeat the experiments in future years, like do another February and March. It seems like the time period that they usually seem to occur. So you can use the modeling and to determine how effective this method is. And then maybe compare in the future to how accurate the EU observers of fishing boats are compared to the actual data that they find along the stranded carcasses. That would be very interesting. And then, yeah, this is my citation and that's my presentation.